Hello and welcome to the Marines podcast on the Odumankuma Maritime News YouTube channel with me, Samuel Minteyim. This week on the Marines podcast, the focus is on IUU fishing, which is illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. Well, when we talk about IUU fishing, what is it and why is it important? In simpler terms, we could say that fishing activities not accounted for or done without permission or with the wrong gear or through the wrong means can be classified as an illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing activity. According to the FAO, illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing remains one of the greatest threats to marine ecosystem due to its potent ability to undermine national and regional efforts to manage fisheries sustainably, as well as endeavors to conserve marine biodiversity. IUU fishing takes advantage of corrupt administrations and exploits weak management regimes, in particular those of developing countries lacking the capacity and resources for effective monitoring, control, and surveillance. So we could look at this in the sense that when we talk about IUU fishing, countries that are in the state of developing and are not highly developed tend to be more prone to these activities due to weak systems and weak legislative structures that makes it difficult to implement and to enforce laws when it comes to fishing activities. And also one factor of IUU fishing is that it makes it difficult for structures such as marine protected areas to be put in place because the numbers from fishing activities are not well reported, making it difficult to put in place a realistic approach towards solving issues and conserving the marine biodiversity. IUU fishing is found in all types and dimensions of fisheries. That means that it's not restricted to one particular area and it's not restricted to one particular type of fisheries, be it the small boat or the big vessels, and it occurs both on the high seas and in areas within national jurisdiction. So you could see it happening very close to land or also very far from land, where mostly there is not proper monitoring, control, and surveillance, especially for the regions of developing countries. It also concerns all aspects and stages of capture and utilization of fish, and it may sometimes be associated with organized crime. Fisheries resources available to bona fide fishers are removed by IUU fishing, which can lead to the collapse of local fisheries, with small-scale fisheries in developing countries proving particularly vulnerable. So in this case, we could see that, let's say, one particular vessel that has gone for the license to fish tuna would end up fishing other species such as sardines, and a fishing vessel that has gone for the license to fish sardine would go out there and will not be able to get a maximum of catch that it intended to get based on assumptions and calculations. Also, products from IUU fishing can find their way into overseas trade markets, thus throttling local food supply. For instance, when vessels go in for this particular way of fishing, they tend to take species across to other foreign countries to sell, making it difficult for the ones that are caught through the right ways to thrive in such export trade as well. IUU fishing also threatens livelihoods, it exacerbates poverty, and it also augments food insecurity. This makes IUU fishing one of the things that surely needs to be kept when it comes to the marine space. So due to the enormous problems caused by IUU fishing, it is important to have the right measures to keep it in the Ghanaian waters. IUU fishing thrives in Ghana because of the weak legislative structures that are in place. A report during the past week by the Business and Financial Times stated that Ghana's fisheries sector, like many other developing and third world countries, is in anticipation to benefit from a European Union level sustainable corporate governance directive that seeks to tackle the negative impact from EU consumption of fish caught through illegal activities across the globe. The upcoming legislation, which is expected to be implemented this year, seeks to safeguard the EU's strategic autonomy and take a leading role in a fair global transition toward a more equitable and sustainable future. The legislative framework was expected in mid last year, but is yet to be delivered. as sustainability-oriented organizations, including the Environmental Justice Foundation, the EJF, Oceania, and the Nature Conservation, are strongly encouraging the EU to deliver on its promises of a robust and world-leading sustainable corporate governance law covering mandatory human rights and environmental due diligence in all countries where the EU sources its fish. Well, this could be helpful in various ways, but then the problem when it comes to a country like Ghana is the fact that majority of the fishing vessels in the Ghanaian waters are Chinese owned and not owned by the European Union. That means that when Ghana wants to keep IUU fishing and tackle it very well, it needs to enter into various agreements with the Chinese government and also these Chinese fishing vessels in order to put in place the right measures to help curb IUU fishing in Ghanaian waters. Earlier this month, the President of the Republic of Ghana, His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, was at the One Ocean Summit in France, precisely the city of Brest, where he said IUU fishing activities have contributed significantly to a decline in fish stocks in Ghana, and as such, the nation has been compelled to spend some $200 million annually to import fish to shore up the country's fish requirements. And from this, we could see clearly that huge sums are being spent in order to attain fish from other countries and to be able to import large amounts of fish into the country. However, if most of this money are being channeled into acquiring, let's say, fishing vessels that are operated by Ghanaians, it would mean that some of these monies, instead of importing fish, would go into helping these fishing vessels acquired by the state in order for the Ghanaian to be able to get its own fish from its own waters. We would know that already illegal mining has destroyed a lot of internal water bodies, making fish from internal water bodies dwindle. However, when it comes to also the ocean also too, there is a very difficult challenge where the government or the nation at large is unable to tap into its fisheries resources in its full, mainly because of the lack of adequate equipment and necessary devices to help benefit fully from these fishery resources. One of the ways would be through sourcing out a lot of these kind of things to private companies. However, it will not directly solve the issue of IUU fishing, since private companies would be eyeing more of profit rather than doing the right things and making sure the right thing is done. So it's a very complex issue. But then if the legislation is right and the enforcement is laid down very well and clearly, it would surely help reduce cases of IUU fishing within Ghanaian waters, and also when it's done by every other nation, to reduce it across the globe and also mainly in developing countries. This has been the Marines Podcast on the Odumankuma Maritime News YouTube channel. For more maritime news, log on to odumankuma.com. You could also subscribe to this channel to never miss an episode of this podcast, and also do not forget to like and share, as it helps us a lot. To get interactive on Instagram and Twitter, it's at Eyiminta, whilst on Facebook and LinkedIn, it's at Samuel Minteyim. Till same time next week, take care of the environment and see you next time.